Okay, welcome to this video here on how to solve absolute value equations. The first thing you need to be able to do is answer this question. What is an absolute value? An absolute value is a distance that a value is to 0. So when you see questions written like this, what is the absolute value of 5? Well, the number 5 on the number line is a distance of 5. So if you see it written like this, number 5 right here, on the number line, it's 5 units away to 0 on the number line, so the answer is 5. You might also see that you might have negative numbers as well, like the number -5 inside the absolute value bars also. And that also on the number line has a distance of 5 units away to 0. So numbers inside the absolute value bars can be positive or negative, but what you're really looking at is how far are they to 0 on the number line. Now, you might also see equations written like this in homework or on the worksheets today, and you're going to see a question where you're trying to solve for x. What you're asking then is what numbers have a distance of 5 to 0 on the number line. And you've already just got done doing that up here. Here are the two numbers that have distances of 5. The solution would be 5 and -5. So you're going to find that whenever you say you have a distance, you can go to the right of 0 and to the left of 0, that distance, and find your two answers, -5 and +5. But one thing to notice about solving absolute value equations is that there's going to be two answers every time you solve an equation. There is one special case when the distance is 0 that you'll have to be careful with. Alright, so let's move on. You may want to try solving these videos or these questions and pausing the videos after each one and seeing if you can come up with the same answer. So pause the video here and see if you can solve this question. Solve for x when the absolute value of x equals 3. Okay, what you want to do here, and this one is think to yourself, if 3 is the value that the absolute value bar equals, that is the distance. So what numbers have a distance of 3 to 0 on the number line? Well, that would look like this. +3 and -3 have a distance of 3 units away to 0, so the two solutions are going to be +3 and -3. You might also have a special case like this where I ask you, what is this value for x when the absolute value of x equals 0? Pause your video now and see if you can solve this one. Alright, the answer to this one right here is going to be x equals 0 because 0 is the only number that has a distance of 0 on the number line to 0. It's a special case answer. This is the one kind of equation when you have absolute value bars equals 0, you're going to have just one answer for x. So keep that in mind as you solve future equations as well. Number 3, if I have a question like this, and it says solve this equation, absolute value of x equals -7. Pause the video now and see if you can solve this one. Okay, hopefully hoping that you're thinking to yourself, have you ever seen a negative number on a ruler? That's because distances are never negative. So it's not possible for you to have a distance of -7. You can't do that. So in this case right here, that's a sad face because you can't really solve that. It's no solution. And again, just remind yourself, you can never have an absolute value bar alone by itself equal to a negative value because the distance can never be negative. Alright, well let's try to now that you've seen those basic ones, let's go a little bit more challenging and talk about how you're going to approach absolute value equations when there are more steps involved. In this case right here, your goal when you solve these absolute value equations is to get the absolute value bars alone so you can then know the distance that you can find for x. So in this case right here, if I ask you to solve this question, pause the video and see if you can solve the absolute value of x plus 5 equals 7. Okay, hopefully you try to get the the absolute value bars by itself by first subtracting 5 to both sides and then getting the absolute value of x equals 2. But once I know this distance right here that the absolute value bars equal, then you can now solve for x because what numbers have a distance of 2 to 0 on the number line? That would be +2 and -2. Those are your two numbers that have a distance of 2 units both ways around the value of 0. Next, try to see if you can solve this equation. 3 times the absolute value of x plus 6 equals 18. Pause the video now and do this one. Alright, hopefully you were successful in getting through this one. You first of all tried to get the absolute value bars by itself. Subtract 6 to both sides, then you get 3 times the absolute value of x equals 12. And then from here, you have to divide by 3, and then you get the bars alone by themselves by saying the absolute value of x equals 4. Now again, thinking to yourself, if 4 is your distance, around the number 0, the numbers that have a distance of 4 to 0 on the number line would be +4 and -4. Okay, 4 units to the right and 4 units to the left would give you answers at -4 and +4. Now you might be thinking these are pretty easy, right? Now what happens if you have a question like this where it's asking you to solve the absolute value of 2x plus 5 equals 17. Try pausing the video on this one now and see if you can solve this question. Alright, hopefully you're successful going through this one, but noticing to yourself that the bars are already by themselves. When that happens, and you have more steps inside the bars to figure out, then you need to figure out, first of all, on the number line, what we're talking about. We're saying that this expression inside here could equal positive 17, or this expression inside here could also equal a negative 17, because you're asking yourself, this expression needs to have a distance of 17 to 0. Okay, so the only way you can do that is to set up two little mini problems, or baby problems, as I call them. So if you make two little baby problems, one equation is going to say, this expression in here could have equaled a positive distance of 17, or a distance of 17 from the positive number 17, from over here, and it could also have a value of negative 17 as well, because that also has a distance of 17 to 0 as well. So there's always going to be two equations. Once you get the bars by itself, this inside expression right here is going to equal the positive value of this and the negative value of this, because those are the two numbers, positive 17 and negative 17, are the places that the distance is going to equal 17 in the absolute value of bars. So if you finish solving this by subtracting 5 to both the terms, and then getting 12 here, and then also getting negative 22 here, and dividing by 2, you'll get your two solutions, and then find that you get x equals 6 and x equals negative 11. Again, notice that you're always looking for two answers when solving absolute value problems. Now there's one more difficult challenge that you need to be aware of, and that is trying to solve questions like this. I would like to call these trick problems, problems that you might make a mistake on in the future. Try pausing this and see if you can solve this one as well. All right, on this question right here, you might have looked at this negative 20 and said, yep, it's over with, it's negative and I can't have a negative distance. But this is not the distance, because the absolute value bars are not by themselves. So the first thing you need to do is divide by negative 4 to both sides to get the bars alone by themselves. When I divide by negative 4 to both sides, then I get a positive 5, and that now is my distance. Okay? So now that I have my distance, I can now solve for x by making two little mini problems. One mini problem saying that this expression could have equaled a positive 5, that has a distance of 5 to 0, and this expression inside here could equal a negative 5 also, that also has a distance of 5 to 0 on the number line as well. So these are my two expressions I need to solve, or equations I need to solve, by saying then add 3 to both sides, like this, add 3 to both sides here, and then you then eventually say that x equals positive 8 or negative 2. But the main thing is, you notice that you saw a negative here. Don't get in the habit of seeing a negative and saying it's no solution, because it is sometimes a positive value like you saw here, and the answer was two solutions that you see here. Here's one more trick problem I want you to try to see if you can solve, and pause the video and try it before we finish the video. Alright, in this question right here, hopefully you solved and noticed that there was a positive 3 here, so you thought there was two solutions, but when you get the bars by itself, you notice that it equals negative 3. Can you have a negative distance? The answer is no. So when that's the case, it's no solution, can't do it, and we're done. So be careful when you're looking at problems. You can't decide if it's a solution or no solution to a problem when you start out, but once the bars are by themselves and you see the distance, then it's very easy to determine what the solutions are going to be. Thanks for watching this video, and hopefully this helps.